pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, I'll ask you to move out of that area and move into the public area. Okay, so you're going to be asked, I ask very kindly, please move into the public area. I've asked you in many meetings prior to this not to stand there. That is not an area for the public. So now I'm going to ask you, you're disrupting a government meeting, so now I'm asking you to leave. Okay.
No, don't touch me.
It's time to go. They asked you to leave. It's
No,
time to
I haven't
leave.
done anything wrong.
Yes, they're asking you to leave. You have to leave.
Under what rule?
Under
You're
what?
disrupting the meeting.
Is that breaking the law?
Yes, it is.
I'm breaking the law?
Yes, you are.
What law am I breaking?
21-5922. Public business and public place.
By standing silently?
They're asking you to leave. You're denying to leave. That's disruptive. You go.
They've asked me to
Let's go.
leave.
Come on.
You will be
Come on.
violating my
Let's go.
First Amendment right. You're not.
Let's go. Come on.
You will not.
Let's
Am I
go.
under arrest?
You will be placed under arrest if you don't leave. Let's
If
go.
I don't leave, I'm gonna be
Yes,
arrested for
yes, sir.
disrupting the meeting.
Yes, sir. It's a Class A misdemeanor, okay? You do
No,
not.
that's, write
Yes,
me a
sir.
citation
You're gonna go to jail. We'll arrest you.
for disrupting.
For a
the meeting,
misdemeanor, yes.
For standing silently during a meeting.
They're asking you to leave. You said no. That's disrupting the meeting. It's time to go.
That's discrimination. You're
Let's
violating
go.
my rights. I haven't done anything, I have
Let's
not
go.
disrupted this meeting.
I asked you to move back into the public area kindly and not stand over to the side. I've asked you that many, many times in
We
many
have been
meetings
allowed to
before.
stand here,
And
and I have
now
asked
you're-
for the rule. It is not a rule. It's not a rule. It's something that you're using
You're
against me for
disrupting a
retaliation.
government meeting.
I disrupted this meeting. I was
Thank you.
standing silent.
Thank you.
I was standing silently.
Sir,
I have not done it.
all you have to do is sit down, and that's all we need, buddy.
No, there's no rule
I'm
that
not
says
gonna- we're not
I
gonna
can,
debate
I
this
have
anymore.
asked
We're
you,
gonna move
and I have
on.
asked all of you to
If you
present
ask-
that rule to me. I'm not breaking any by standing here. You can't ask me to leave.
Yep.
This is
you
a
did.
public spot.
You're
I'm
disrupting a
standing-
government
By standing here,
by not following my rule.
so
for you to
it's
go over there and
your
sit down.
rule. It's your
It's the
rule.
public area, and
This
I'm
is
in
a
charge of
public
this.
area.
I'm in
This is-
charge of this meeting.
This is a public area right here.
You need to
You've
leave.
allowed other
Leave the
people to stand here.
premises.
You have allowed other people to stand here.
You need to leave the premises.
The entire court, hold on a second, no. I'm not
I'm
being
done.
trespassed
Let's
today. I
not
don't
argue
even
about
leave
this
the
anymore.
premises.
Yep. All right, we're gonna move on.
All right, let's go.
No, so where do I need to go?
Just off the premises. Let's go.
Okay.
Off of what premises?
The courthouse premises.
I'm off the
Yeah.
courthouse premises for
Let's go.
disrupting-
Let's go.
For disrupting a meeting,
Let's
I'm
go.
off the courthouse premises.
Let's go.
Does it apply to him as well?
Just you.
Just, okay, just me, huh?
If he's not disrupting the meeting, you are.
Michael, would you please take your seat over there? Michael, Mr. Reed, or Reed, whatever, would you please take your seat?
Okay.
Hey, Tim? Hey, could you, send me a report there, another reason to, help out the deputy? We're refusing to, leave. Thank you.
Association, I asked for that email. This is weird, You're talking about, 59-170, DSA. I don't believe we will. We're not making any contract changes with our public defenders for the 25.
Those are the,
No.
here's the word, well, there was one on there that I thought I turned
The what?
already, or I snippy. Remember that somebody came in here and not tracking names, but they had to, or draft information.
That would have been Mr. Fisher.
Oh, well, that was, you're thinking about the SIP.
Oh, okay.
Totally
Yeah.
different.
Oh, Mr.
I'm not-
Yeah, but Mr. Fisher is no longer there.
Yeah, that was a sweet
Yeah, that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's thinking about the SIP.
Okay, so before I got before
Yes, yes.
that we got extended.
Yeah, just leave it open.
I can't hear. So I'm going to close it like we normally do. Mr. Bonnie, if you would please sit so you're not in the public way, I would appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the same. You just need to move or leave the premises.
Yeah.
I called him, so we got somebody else coming to help. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we remove Justin Spees off of the agenda. Per our rules, no taxpayer, no property owner in Jackson County has no business with the county.
Second that. Bill, you second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. So while Valley has asked for, their appropriations for,
Yeah, now, is that for the mall association?
yes, I believe so. That puts me at a point.
Yes.
It's 5,000.
And I'd like to make clarification on this request because there is, rumors floating around out there that I saw on PPA and Jackson County PPA and all this. I wish Ally was here so she could get that, but here, get this here. These appropriations we make for the ball associations that we make for post-prom all come out of the alcohol fund, that if we don't use this money for those purposes, just sit there, and we can do nothing with it other than that. This money is what we've used for the 800 megahertz radios that we purchased for the fire departments for our county. And it's just, it's terrible that these rumors are flying around out there and people look at them and think that, oh my God, we're spending the county's money, you know, in the wrong way. If we don't spend it on the schools, on the ball associations, on the ministerial alliance, the Christmas store, on the library, then it just sits here. And I really don't know how to get this, make it any plainer than that. We can let it sit there and grow and grow and grow until it, you know, got $10 million, then what we're gonna be looking at.
I wouldn't worry about it.
So, well, I just wanna make that clear to the public that we're not spending county funds.
It's been that way for years.
I know.
So
I'll
he
make
is,
a motion that we
so
approve.
just that clarification here, they are asking for a little bit more than they normally get, which is 5,000. They normally, is what they normally get, I think they're asking about 6,000.
If we raise it for them, then we're going to have to raise it for every one of the ball associations. So do we have the, what are the funds in that?
22,000 for the alcohol tax, last I checked. So,
We'll just stick with the, I'll entertain a motion for the 5,000.
Right now, until we, get for sure what's happening, I'll make a motion that we appropriate $1,000 to the Rural Valley Ball Association,
Right, it's a roll record.
Rural Valley Rec Association.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to move the $5,000 appropriations from the alcohol tax to the World Rec Association. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Yeah, there's something.
Oh. $59, they have decimal point 170.
Well, I mean, the point, there's no decimal points.
It's usually slight. Well, okay.
gentleman's gonna ask me to sit also in this communication meeting.
You guys ready?
So I've asked both of them to come over to the public area. Don't allow any public to stand over here. That's, we've done this many
What's
meetings
this gentleman been asked to leave for?
because he disrupted a government meeting.
Okay,
I
this
asked
gentleman
him-
hasn't disrupted anything?
If he doesn't move from there, he will be.
Okay, but this one interrupted the meeting?
That's
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Great, about you?
Good.
Thank you.
Right, next for you, please.
What you got?
Okay.
So
This is the minutes from, our meeting with the landfill, we talked about the increase and stuff.
Yeah.
The sign, you guys saw it.
Yeah. we had not taken action on this yet.
Oh, we did.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
You just didn't have a course to sign.
There is a resolution that was signed, but I just didn't have the minutes documented or signed. Yes, the resolution was signed a while back.
Thank you very much.
Peyton down here's got as many days in with household hazardous waste, so we'd like to bump it up a little bit.
You're down a couple people, aren't you?
Or at least
Down one? Oh, Rob, Brenner.
no, we're talking.
Are you?
Leon is discussing retiring.
Okay. He's part-time, that's what I'm saying.
You have two culverts here. Fourth and S. We put a culvert in on 134th and S. Okay, and then the other one over here at Emmett. Are these new constructions or just replacements?
Those are the math group, so I'm not exactly sure. I didn't, but he went and looked at them, felt they were safety and safe and everything exactly. Usually they are, it says two or whatever. Right.
I know we talked a while back about maybe replacing down here, like the recycling, but you guys will get that done before the end of the year. $78,000 capital outlay for recycling.
And this was a pickup that was,
What we used to go around and fix up the debris, cardboard, recycling. It's just, it's got a small motor in it, so you can't pull it forever with it. Other trucks and motors and.
yes,
If you want me to address this whole thing in front of everybody, I can, or if I just can talk to one of you, that would probably be beneficial, more beneficial, more for you.
okay, we'll be in recess for just 5 minutes.
Thanks, Mark. Cardiologist.
Everybody's got their little
And
different
so,
thing.
cardiologist.
And so,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that works
Kate
in
Immenschuh.
she didn't
Oh, okay.
understand the material, it's just, it wasn't usually what I do. And so I
What?
got something.
Oh,
I
Palmolive.
have a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah. Palmolive, yeah, she does that too.
But it was definitely good.
Yeah.
Can I? No, maybe not.
I think we've got 5 ologists she's seen.
Probably could.
Of course, they, one
Are you interested
we do
in
this,
Mark leaving?
we do this procedure, so, you know, just catching up. Of course.
Thank you, sir.
I've got them. Wait, yeah, yeah.
How about you add those?
Yeah. Hey, since we're in recess, I got the thing that said, no, our stuff on our post and everything. She lives in Kansas City. I have 2 nieces.
Oh,
that
no,
they
that we're
call.
gonna have.
If she's interested, I'll give her their numbers.
At your house?
But, you know, I got one that's, well, one's been doing it for years, and she just got a nice little paycheck for something she did. Well, there you go. But anyway, the girls are, yeah, they're she's somewhere in their age.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking about that. She's got a nice little paycheck for something she did. It takes a lot of it. But, why not?
She's up here during the day, lives in California. She did a lot of miles in high school, and when I graduated, she was saying, I was going to stay for a while. And they say, well, I'll take the stunt man. He's going to buy a house, it's not the size of pool, and you can just stay there.
Dang. Never did.
And then after she graduated, she was living with 2 of the rancher leaders, in California, and she was doing Budweiser commercials for Burn 2
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
doing Budweiser commercials.
Wow.
Ended up dating a guy that year that won the World Soccer League, and then ended up marrying the pitcher.
Really?
Winery.
You missed, you missed your chance. Yeah.
Oh. Well, they still own a winery.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? Yeah.
Hmm. Here, my family only hangs out with Elon Musk. I didn't know who it was. I had a picture of my son on him. I asked myself, who is this guy? Yeah, that's been a couple of years ago. They're building all of his buildings for his lithium plant. Own their own architectural firm. So I thought, oh, he's
No, I was gonna
General stuff. I help my son. He's got this project. 4 hours of physical, I do 4 hours of physical. And more. He's 30-some years younger, so what the heck? Yeah, it is.
So, went down Sunday to Nord's and picked up some lumber and put a 2nd story in for storage. And I don't know why older 2x8 and 2x10 lumber is on the 2nd story. But there,
Yes.
I know,
But you are.
Did you just say something?
It is.
I guess you got to carry down
Yeah, but
30, 10-foot 2x10s and,
the up and down,
Oh,
up and
is that on
down.
Thanksgiving?
load it back, truck, and take it over and unload it there.
Yes, when they take it up to her storage area. Gee, and he goes, I'm gonna get this unloaded and never look
Yeah.
at.
What do people want?
So much fun.
It's on Sunday, right before Thanksgiving.
Saturday, Kate said he was going down to Felix Wood, so he went out there and I was crossing free, so he saw it then. So I don't know.
Oh, it's food. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'll be.
well, if you want to bring,
Yeah, I'd have
what do
to.
you want
Yeah,
to
I'd
eat?
have to.
Because you're doing the caps, right?
Forever. gonna send it to me in text? Okay, good, okay.
And there's an RSVP at the very bottom of that picture.
Okay.
Your RSVP to tag and be,
Oh, okay.
and that's where I use the
Okay. Let's see.
Well, he was the one who was, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was under 8 o'clock. I read that, yeah. We'll see. Yeah, right.
So,
So,
because we had put out an offer for someone to put in groups for our accounts.
Yeah.
For each rent break, there is booked gift to that person a
that
hat.
is correct.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is that a good exchange? It seems like that's,
they were on the good end of it.
yeah.
They were on the, but there was more involved than just building. First they had to go down and salvage. We had a building fire down, we had to salvage that material, do backup to the house.
It must have been a big win for a cow. You did a lot for a cow.
Well, he ended up running 2 cows. Instead of building just an unstriped windbreak in the barnyard, he said, there's enough material down there. But I was told
You just get one good in.
he can build you
Oh, we've got one.
3 sanitary chapters. How do you figure out that? Does it feel great about that? So he did. In the beginning, things were great. He was supposed to be there from March to April. He didn't end up leaving until September.
Bills,
No, I didn't see that.
yeah, right.
He was
Payroll, or just bills?
His poor.
Payroll checks.
At that point, or at that place that he was working, I don't know, he got.
Gosh, this.
I can't believe this is the one
Right.
full year.
And I asked him, and he was
Oh, yeah.
not stupid.
Yes, I see that, you're gonna be 21.
He
Is that what it says? Yes, perfect.
Yeah, this month is flying by.
I finally came back.
Okay, we are back in order.
All right.
Go ahead.
Anyway, back to the truck.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's good to see that at this point.
I had thought that we were going to use the, capital outlay for, a new skip loader that you're looking.
That's into next year. We have the thing set up for next year of, actually we had for this year for skid loader and truck and then with the conveyor for another year. But we kind of press and shape it in, and kind of swap them around.
Okay.
The skid steer still in good shape.
I was tempted to come back in.
fuel tanks from the fire marshal, I didn't get the information sent back to them, they said that they received it. I don't want to go ahead, he's got today, tomorrow, to get anything to do. They want to put the wires in, run the wires down. That's all gonna be fine, so we've got the guy lined up to do that. Just have that for you.
Speaking of fuel tanks, what did you find out from, Naughty Pine?
We've got, the tanks picked up, smaller ones, here at our shop. So we do wiring on them, and we got four plugs on all of them. And, four of them, we put the solar on, and he supplies the solar,
And you'll move.
Naughty Pine is supplying that?
we'll supply the solar panel, and the battery, we'll supply the pump. That's not much money at all, the panel and the box.
I'm just a little concerned when we say that it includes operational tanks and they're not operational. I'm just a little puzzled on that.
Well,
So what, I'm curious what they had to say.
he came back, he told me, he said that I told him that they all had 110 outlets. I said, I do not remember that conversation at all.
That does not find the contract like that, it just says operational equipment. And I don't call it being 110 because we had a conversation, when they were in here, that there was probably some that would not be able to use 110 problem. So, I'm just curious why we're supplying anything to tanks. I mean, that just kind of bothered me a little bit.
You want to be involved in that conversation?
No, I don't think I know. I'm just saying it bothered me a little bit because according to the contract, including operational equipment, that means that when we get them, they're operational. Not we have to do this and do that, so. I think I'd have that conversation with them. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Yes. I know Linda's got a 254 bridge, she has a detour right down.
No, I don't.
The detour will be from 254, we'll go north on L, up to 262, then we go west over to K, and back down to 254.
I already had a complaint on it. I already had a complaint on that. I drove it yesterday. The complaint was, why didn't you go north and use a mile of the highway? Well, if you go north, you've got a minimum.
We did go north.
I mean, south, excuse me,
Thank
south. If you go south, you got that middle maintenance road that
Yes.
is, you're gonna have, we're spending more money to try and get that up before we can handle the detour.
We actually talked about going south, which is not there, which we talked about, and when you get to 250 down there though, going back to the west, you've got that one little bridge down at the end that we're not real positive that we should be running buses and heavier equipment across.
There again, so yeah,
That's why we opted to go
Yeah.
north instead of south.
that was what, yeah, I know, you know, we had talked, that was what we had talked about. And there again, the argument's made, well, I drive my dump truck over it, I drive, those are over it, we got grain trucks going over it, there ain't nothing wrong. Well, the first time that you have a vehicle break it down, then we're liable. So the smartest thing to do is to run the detour right where we have,
Yes.
and not where we wanna take a chance. Because I don't want the county to be liable. We've talked about detour before, the county does not need to be liable for detours.
And also Matt was gone last week, so we talked to him about that bridge this morning. He goes, oh yeah, he says, that's why I need to get on the replacement list. So,
Okay, that should be enough answer to the question right there. I will call the gentleman back tonight, like I told him I would, and make sure that he understands that this is the safest.
Email the, route that you use for the detour to each of us.
the green walls on the
Yes.
south side of the bridge are cracked, broken,
Mhm.
another green.
Okay, perfect.
Our monthly meetings go down to 26th. We're gonna do our next meeting dinner at that same time. Won't be, you need to do 11.
26th.
Tuesday.
And then were you gonna come out 21st, the week before?
Yep.
21st at 8 o'clock.
7:30, 7.
I've got a doctor's appointment on the 26th, so I will not be at the meeting.
It's gonna have to be 9.
What time's, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, it's when we have a meeting, March 11th.
And you'll have a couple weeks to remind us. You'll have a couple weeks to remind us.
Yes. Yeah, 21st, on Thursday. The 23rd on Saturday, you're welcome. Okay, that covers everything.
I've got one thing for you. I had a call from Terry Hurst from Jackson Heights, and they're having trouble getting her recycling picked up. She's called 3 weeks in a row, trying to get it done, and Darlene got pretty snippy apparently the last time, so.
What's been happening is, the lady from the cafeteria office want us to come pick our door up outside their door, like we do at the grade school, which we do not do that in high school, they have a trailer that we carry out too.
Here's what she told me. She told me the trailer's full.
Each time that they, we're gonna go down and pick the trailer up.
Okay.
So the trailer is getting empty.
Okay, trailer, okay.
So that's
Okay.
happening. Like, so the other one is, like, the cafeteria want us to pick the stuff up and stuff in here. The only reason we do that in the grade school is because they are on that recycling program with us, and they do not have a trailer. So we go by there once a week, pick their stuff up.
Okay. All right.
All right, last week we robbed 86 Vita 158 A4B and L Road 254, 26, and 262 K to L. Got that heater ready. Did 2 services. They've got the fuel tanks in shop. They put the solar panel system on and the wire connectors. The snow equipment is ready to go, except for one spread, so we're working on that. No tubes last week. Been working on the minimum maintenance signs, trying to get them going. Ditch Q Road from the Bolton city limits to 222. This week, we're gonna tear up that bridge, and I'll email the detour to all 3 of you. We're gonna do rock finishing up L Road, and 222 Road, and then we do wanna get some W Road, and get it ready for well. Got 2 services this week, like I said, work on the minimum maintenance signs, doing ditching Q 222 to 190th, and future planning course is ditching, on the same IT issues. We cannot fax, Bryce can't print, and he needs his computer.
Has there been tickets written up on this, or what's the story?
Well, I guess it's him out, last week, and standing at the counter, and this type of thing, and he says, then it got done, and he says, well, I'll work on first, excuse me later, I'll be back, and he's finished.
But the ticket should be issued through IP
I
Pathway.
pathways.
Right, now, I'm not part of the tickets anymore, so I don't know, but I'll, and make
And
sure
the
that
contact
we are.
person is Christie.
No, it's not. That's what we need to have a discussion about.
Why isn't it?
That's a good question. Because I've got, I had her email me the contracts,
That's what we talked about.
yes it is. And page 3, item 8, contact IP pathways and customer. Each shall designate a single point contact whom communicates in regards to the IP pathway media address and who has the authority to act on all aspects of the IP pathway services that be available, blah, blah, blah. IP pathways is looking to give her the authentication, and that's what I wanted to have a discussion about, and I think probably I'd have an executive session to security reasons.
Okay.
So we'll get to that later. Yeah, so, and I'm heard that, you know, you guys are still having trouble, and that's what I want to find out, so we will address that.
Okay.
Okay.
And it sounds like you're working on it, trying to get,
We're going to go
Yeah.
with that.
yeah, so,
Not to go out of turn here, but is this about, I mean, contract usually has that term in there to discuss service generally, and is this like a IT company, you're calling up and saying, my email's working?
This is our new IT company,
Yeah.
IT Pathways, which it was Networks.
But to answer your question, you are correct. So we're calling in about our email, and they're saying, talk to you.
She is, Christie is supposed to be the person for the courthouse. That was established back when we signed this. And we have not apparently gotten, they're refusing to go through her or give her the access that she needs. So we need to talk about this.
Yes, all right, go ahead, Linda, anything else?
that's,
All right.
I had a couple things.
okay,
The new bridge on 254, when I was over there yesterday, that needs some pothole dressed on it, both coming on and off over here.
on 254,
Yeah.
K1.
Yeah, or maybe it's where the tubes are, I can't remember if the bridge or the tubes, but it's,
And yesterday, because we did work on them potholes last week.
yeah, I drove over.
Okay, that's been when we got the rain again.
Yeah.
I'll check.
So just take a look at that. And then I got another call on 254 to the east. Did you work on it last week? And you know, you and I had a conversation, about the condition of it, the secretary just starting.
Yes,
You worked on it?
Scott Strong was, then he got pulled off to go to,
Well, you
the
just
detour.
totally ruined it again because you just made it terrible.
okay,
And you know where it's coming from, but
okay.
I just wanted to pass that on, so if you hear it, you're gonna hear it.
All right.
I drove in there the other day too and saw nothing wrong, but
Have to do that.
Okay. 126 East 75 Highway. We've talked about that multiple times. I know I went back through the calls, and I know there's at least one individual that lives on the road that called in several months ago, and nothing's been addressed on that road.
And I did talk to Jason over a week ago about that. He was down in K Road, and I know that we got trucks out.
And he was down doing some work, on 134th. I know he was trying to blade it up, but a huge hole in the middle of the road. I mean, it's, when it rained,
East of your place.
west, just west of the bridge there, it filled with water in the middle of the road. I don't understand that, because driving down the road, the average layman can see what's done. I mean, it doesn't take an expert grader operator to understand what he's done. And how he can't see that is beyond him. So, and I know you went past this morning, you drove right. Some accountability with these guys is gonna have to be held. They can't go around making things worse than what they were to begin with. We just can't do that.
All right. Look at it, talk to him.
Yeah, and 126 has been, there's a ditch right there along the edge of the road for months. Months. And if the blade operator is blading that road and either doesn't see it or chooses not to do anything with it, then maybe something needs to be done, not fixing things. We've told them, I don't know how many times over the last 4 years, you have all the time in the world to stop and address problems when you see them.
Yes, we have.
That's not getting done. That's all I have.
Fuel is
Go ahead.
Hago oil, 7,500 gallons, diesel 60%, low 258 a gallon, $19,350.
and I've got one for Naughty Pine, same thing, 265 gallon for 19,875.
I'll make a motion that we accept the low bid of 258 for Hago oil.
Second,
Move in second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, anything else? I got your,
We'll go into executive session about personnel.
non-elected personnel,
Yes.
but, when you two wanna read your.
Yeah, Mark's got it.
How long?
10 minutes. To include counselor, commissioners, and road and bridge personnel only.
Both Linda and Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go into executive sessions, personnel, purposes of personnel matters, non-elected personnel for a period of 10 minutes, starting at 9:05, with the meeting to reopen at 9:55 at this location, with commissioners, counselor, road and bridge, Scott and Linda present.
Do I hear a second?
Employees.
Second. Yeah.
For employment.
Yeah.
Second. Second.
Then moving second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Bring it on. I know it's heavy as heck.
Okay. Kate? Crappy subjects, but we got time. I said crappy subjects, but we got time.
Right there. What's his name? Right?
Posting that resolution in the paper, do we have to do it, or can it just be the portion that we're changing
I think what,
this?
yeah, and I think what we do, you have to have passed a resolution, yeah, I mean, that's,
Because I retitled it and just putting that, is that
Yeah.
doable? I mean, it's not changing the whole thing,
no,
just that.
no, that's, yeah, that's, I think you can X out, you put 17, what we usually do is put like purposes here, you know? 17, remove all this, and then A, go E. That would be like real, there's also, a way I think that you can, and I don't know if you ever did it, but there's a resolution that you pass that makes it summarize the resolution rather than publish the whole thing. I don't know if that works for that, because it's, so. You might want to put in here, if you, is this gonna be with that?
This is the publication. So
Okay.
this is what I'm gonna be in paper next Tuesday morning, and sending this to them for December meeting.
Well, what I would also, I mean, it seems to me a good thing to do here, put here that a copy of the full resolution is available at your office, so that people can view it and kind of see it beforehand. And just add that, if that's good. And then ultimately, I think publish that after you, when you publish the resolution after you have it.
Right.
Okay.
So you want that copy of the full resolution?
Is available, you tell me where it would be. You put it in the clerk's office, sitting, wherever you would grab it.
So it's not a resolution at this point, putting it in paper, it would be.
You're just saying a draft, draft of the resolution, the proposed amendment is available to come to you at, yes.
Yes. That's what's on the agenda, is because this is about the code.
So we've got Martha here to
Sure.
talk about, that code and what you all are wanting to maybe cut from that.
Mark, do you have, thoughts on that?
Yeah, we talked about, doing away with the inspections upon purchase. There's an inspection that has to be done 9 times out of 10, the lending company or the buyer is going to require an inspection, and if they require the inspection, that's fine and dandy. I don't think that, we need to be forcing residents to spend money to do the, inspection.
And
And the same way for renters.
Mark, speak a little bit to the information you shared with us a couple of weeks ago that talked about whether Nemo around.
Yeah, if you remember, you shared with us, I'll have to try and find it here. The information of how we compared to Nemaha, Brown, and all the surrounding counties, and we had
A lot more
a lot more,
inspections.
and sanitary, and you said, and you told me one question at a time, you said, well, that was in our sanitary codes,
Correct.
not the others.
It is not in Brown and Nemo.
It's stated a different way. In Brown, Nemaha, and Donovan counties codes, it is stated any wastewater systems that were constructed as of the date of their adoption of their particular sanitary codes are supposed to be inspected. Now,
Upon sale of the property.
upon sale of the property, yes.
Okay.
Now, we don't catch a lot of those. We're trying to figure out how to fix that, whether it's a publications thing, get it out to the realtors, so, it's a more clear, statement. But at this time, like I wrote down all of the county codes, Atchison counties where it was adopted in September of 1998. Brown's in July of 99, Donovan, March of 1997, yours in September of 03, and March of 93 for Nemaha County. Honestly, all of the codes need to be updated. And that's the process that we're working on right now. We've been working on Atchison the last couple of years, but it's kind of fallen on my shoulder to do that in addition to all of the other duties, so I haven't been able to devote a lot of time. And to be honest with you, we, as Northeast Kansas Environmental Services, like Jackson County's codes the best, and we were modeling all of the rest of the codes after Jackson County's, just due to the fact that there are a lot of wastewater systems out there that are running out onto the ground, that are lagoons that are not fenced, things not in compliance, and we were trying to get that enforcement piece in place to where we can say, okay, if you're gonna sell your house in Jackson or Brown or Donovan or any of the other counties, we want to be able to get on site, help that as, from a buyer's perspective. Get in there, they get a wastewater system that is failing, and then it's up to them to burden of, getting that system brought up into compliance. And it's not a very cheap endeavor.
Of it anyway.
Right, and so I tell people, like in Jackson County, we're there beforehand, so, if there's any negotiation that needs to be made between the buyer and seller, that's the time to do it, rather than after, the buyer purchases a $200,000 house, gets into it, oh my gosh, my my septic is running out onto the ground, I have to go get another $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 loan so I can afford to fix this up.
But typically most, like FHA, all FHA require an inspection.
A lot of lenders do, they're moving that direction.
So most lenders will require, and if you're using a realtor, most realtors will advise it. The flexibility that, you disagree with that most realtors will ask for?
That's one more step that they have to go through, and to be honest with you, that adds another element of
Okay.
more work on their part.
So
So
the
I would
other
say,
piece that we talked about is, by not requiring that it is done by Northeast Kansas Environmental, it gives the individual who either is selling the property or buying the property flexibility to hire a qualified individual themselves without having to pay what Northeast Kansas Environmental charges. Because I've said this in other meetings, and you and I have had this conversation, I think it's crazy that your fee is more than the guy who's actually pumping the tank out.
Understandable.
And the fact that if a sale happens in a very short period of time, it's $100 more to get it inspected in 10 days or less.
I'll be honest with you, we don't put that in place unless a realtor calls us up and said on a Tuesday and says, hey, I'm closing Friday. Is there any way you can squeeze this in? That's when we charge them that expedite fee. Otherwise, you know, if they say, you know, we're closing the end of the month, I get out there and do it whenever I can. And if it's within 10 days, I don't charge them that. Because unless it's absolutely necessary, because I know it's another financial burden, you know, for somebody. So we only charge that if we deem it's, you know, last minute type thing.
Well,
I have a problem with that then.
what I guess I'm concerned about too is the fact that you're saying that not all sales cover this, meaning the people who are conscientious and call up and get the service, do it right, they're essentially, there's people who don't do it, they're fine.
But if I buy a property from Todd and we just use white law office, we don't, it's voluntary that I call you and get it inspected.
Technically, yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect system. We wish it were. We wish it was.
And one thing that concerns me, you know, I sit on your board, and so, you know, just from listening to everything, one thing that concerns me is we're Northeast Kansas Environmental Services, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're Northeast Kansas Environmental Services, then shouldn't we have the same sanitary codes that we're using for all of these counties rather than this one here and this one here? Because from what you're saying, I can't listen then with the information that you're giving me because it's all different. The sanitary codes are all different.
I'm in agreement with you, Mark, and that's what we're working to. And we're actually using Jackson counties as a model. Now, KG, I'm gonna say 2 years ago, don't quote me on that, but here in the last 2 or 3 years, they had a committee of sanitary across the state, and they came up with a model code. And so counties, they're encouraging counties to update their codes because as you can see, I mean, yours is 21 years old. The rest of them are 25, 30 years old. They all dated. And there is a process to go through to do that. And we are trying to get all of the counties as similar as possible. Now, you guys as commissioners want one set of codes. Brown County may not agree with 100%, so they may axe out, you know, having, I don't know, a water supply section in there, or they may not want us to, I don't know. I can't think of anything specific.
I grew up in Atchison County. They're not zoned. Jackson County's obviously zoned. It's kind of a legal question. We didn't have to submit our brown water or sink water to the septic system or to a lagoon. It could be shot out into the ditch.
No, gray water.
Gray water.
Gray
Gray water.
yeah.
Okay.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Kansas is a no discharge state. There's no wastewater that can be
Changed
to the
it.
ground.
You're illegal, spot law.
I have serious.
Even though there is still, I know one that just got changed last year because they still sent their gray water out the ditch.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
and that's we go on these properties, we walk around and we can see that, yeah, they've got a septic system, but it's an old enough house that it's probably running out into a ditch. So I'll walk the property and I've found a handful of them, and it's usually a simple fix inside the house, you know, reroute that to where it all exits that
Sure.
septic tank. But we, as an agency, wanting to get all of the codes from our 5 counties as similar as possible to make it easier for us to, you know, rather than saying, okay, I'm in Atchison County, let me bring out Atchison County's code and, you know, see what that code says. So we are trying to move that.
I guess too, I'm a little hesitant to charge county residents for this service to get their sewer inspected, your septic system and everything inspected. When do you you check and see what's running from the house out? You camera the system?
I don't have a camera to run it through, no. If somebody's there, then we have them turn a faucet on inside the house. And if that's coming into the septic tank, we know that it pumps correctly.
Well, sure, but I mean, what I'm saying is, so you're talking about getting a septic system inspected, and what you're doing is you're looking at the septic system, not actually looking at what connects the septic system to the house.
Right.
So if it's Orangeburg, and it's been there for 30 years, you know what's happening to it, right? But you have no way of knowing that, so when you talk about, well, you know, you're gonna have to go do all this to get yourself a grade, and they spend the money to do that, and then, you know, before after the sale closes, the Orangeburg collapses all the way, well, then they're just screwed for that. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
No consistency.
If you're gonna look at the septic system, then you need to look at it from the house all the way out. You don't know if you got broken tile, you don't know if you've got Orangeburg, so, I guess where do we stop at? See what
Well,
I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, typically when I check a septic system, just for example, you know, we have the tank pumped out, I have a camera that I drop down into the tank and I look around to make sure the tank is in good shape. Then we know signs from the tank out into the field, whether there are any signs of it failing now, failing in the past, or if everything appears to be working correctly. And so that's the evaluation that we're basically doing. From that house to the tank, we don't have any way to check that. We don't have one of those cameras that can be run down through that line. We encourage the homeowner to get somebody who can run that down through there. We just don't have that capability. So we just basically check from the tank and then from the ground out to there. Now, this disclosed in our letter that says, at the time we were there were no signs of failure, and with all wastewater systems, water usage, the failure, I don't know how it is, but basically, when we were there was no signs of failure. There's no warrant that you could have failure in the future, because you've got grandma and grandpa living in the house, you know, a 5-bedroom house. They're not gonna have as much water usage as them selling the house to a family of 6. They're gonna have more water usage, and then that could potentially cause failure down the road, because there's likely going to be more water usage there. But for our purposes, when we are there, we're only capturing that moment in time. You know, we're not guaranteeing, a year from now, they're not going to have any kind of failure. So I don't know that there's any sort of way to predict that type of thing. So.
I'm just, if we're gonna do this, and we're gonna rewrite our sanitary codes, and we're gonna stick with the recommendations, I am not satisfied signing off on new recommendations unless this coalition is going to do it together. Because if we're all in this together, I don't want separate ones for each county. If this is a coalition, we need to do it together. And this is, you spoke like Brown County didn't like something, they struck it out. Okay, well, that's where the negotiation comes in. You know, if we can, the state came out with a template for sanitary codes, right?
Right.
So, have you sent that template out to the other counties?
Not. I'll be honest with you, I've been working on Atchison counties trying to get theirs. When they adopted theirs in 1998, Dennis Foster, who was the secretary at that time, all they wanted at that time was just a bare minimum, you know, to make sure that things were in compliance. There's a lot of references to, not a lot, but there's some reference to Bulletin 4-2, the Kansas Bulletin 4-2, which is the minimum standards for the state of Kansas. They barely want, he finally got them convinced they should have a code, but they just wanted the bare minimum. So we're starting with them to get their code up to today's standard, I guess, if you will, with terminology and the things that need to be brought up to that level to get them even close to the minimum standards for the state of Kansas. Once we get Atchison County completed and finished up, then we're going to start with the other counties.
Okay, but I guess my point is, if you're doing Atchison right now, why not bring the coalition together? Come make your presentation to each of the county commissioners and say, here's our standards that we're going to try to go to, for rather than, well, we'll do yours now, and then 2 years from now we're going to say, well, let's change them again. Don't you think that now is the time?
Can that be done from your board?
That's what I'm wondering. What do you mean bring the coalition together?
Then
The board?
it's environmental services,
The
and take a
board?
representative from each group.
Right, the board.
Yeah, what I'm
From the,
wondering
well,
is,
it would, I don't know if it necessarily be the board, or if it be each of the county commissioners to come and talk about, okay, let's negotiate this and see if they can come together with a,
don't they each have a commissioner that says?
or the health departments.
That is correct. Each county has a commissioner representative on our board, yes. And we have discussed this in the
So
past.
maybe it'd be
Who
brought up
is
that,
Nemaha? I've never seen Nemaha County there.
He's not a commissioner. The commissioners appoint our board members, and the commissioners have appointed their road and bridge guy.
No, that's their business administrator, isn't it? Or
Uh-uh.
isn't he on there too? Or he just come that time just to introduce himself?
Yeah, he
but
just.
at any rate, could this be done at the board, at that board level?
I would just soon have a county commissioner rather than the road and bridge guy or the county health nurse. I mean,
Well-
because we're the ones that are gonna be approving it in the long run anyway, right?
Right, and typically, the commissioners appoint a commissioner to the board. That's what our bylaws state. It's up
Sure.
to each county commission to appoint 2 members to the board. And typically, it is the health department administrator and then a commissioner. Nemaha is unique because their commissioners, I don't know if nobody wanted to run, but they appointed their road and bridge guy.
Who's Brown?
Lamar Shoemaker.
Because I don't think I've ever seen him in a meeting.
He's in a meeting.
You're right. It's Brown. Nemaha County has an administrator
Yes.
that they rely on, but all things done and said by the board, each commission, each county should ratify.
That's what I'm saying. So in order to talk about it, I think, and come to an agreement on the sanitary code for the group, I think that there should be, that my personal opinion is that if you're a commissioner, not the nurse, not the road and bridge guy, from
Won't
each
they
county.
take back to their commission and get their approval?
Yeah, but how can you negotiate, I mean, if we're negotiating back and forth, I would negotiate with an equal rather than talk to somebody else.
But if they're appointed by the commissioner, so if we appoint
I
Scott,
fully
Scott
understand that.
has the ability to negotiate on our behalf.
I fully understand that. But if we're gonna have to ratify it in each of the 5 counties, or 4 counties, whatever it is, then
Fine.
I'd just soon be talking one-on-one.
So do you think you can pull everybody together?
I don't know, can we? Because like I said, bro, I've never seen Brown County.
He offers to join us via Zoom each time. So I mean, if that would be a way that you would be acceptable to me.
Rule that, I guess, we could do that, but I mean, I think that I would try to pull that together, because
So-
like you're negotiating with Ashton right now, when everybody needs to do it, the states put something out, let's get together and talk about it, see if we can't get something ratified and pulled together for the whole group.
Okay, so we've got 2 different things we're talking about here. We're talking about ratifying all 5 counties together, but we're also talking about Vermont.
I would like to see us, before we even talk about upgrading ours, see if we can't pull it together with 5 counties.
Okay, but would first step be getting the form of the, whatever your general form is?
Yes,
And seeing what
take
that,
the rest of us.
and you guys compare yours to that and seeing where either you wanna add something to it, or you have a problem with something that says.
So can you get the states put out
Monco,
to?
oh yeah, it's on the KDHE website.
Okay,
Yes.
Is that the 4.2 thing?
No, this is actually the LEPP part of
Oh,
KDHE.
okay.
And can those regulations state that it can be done by any qualified inspector?
We have an issue with that, because let me tell you what's going on. We are an unbiased third party. We have no skin in the game. We're not gonna be making, however much money. Let's put this as we license wastewater system installers. Some of those guys could check wastewater systems. Now, they could also come and say, okay, yeah, I think your tank is, you get a new tank. I'm not saying that there's shady ones out there, but there could be shady ones. It's just like taking your car in to get the oil changed, and they say, oh, you're gonna need new brakes, and you're gonna need new this and that, because they have a financial gain to be made on that.
Sure.
Our installers, it could be perceived that they have some financial gain if they say, okay, yeah, this is failing.
What would it, okay, let's go a different route. How would we reduce the amount that we're charging our taxpayers every time they sell a house to make it more reasonable? Shawnee County, I think, charges $50.
Okay. The thing about individual counties is, like Shawnee County, I'm gonna use a tank one, I don't know their specific numbers. they are paid, that environmental sanitarian is paid by that county, okay? I'm not paid by the county, I'm paid by Northeast Kansas Environmental Services. Each of our
You're
counties,
subsidized by the county.
each of our counties kicks in that money every year to be part of our coalition. And so they're basically getting environmental services for that $10,000 fee, okay? So that each individual county, Shawnee County, has an environmental budget. And so they're paying for that environmental services person to do their job as well. We are, making our we're trying to break even, on these services, these paid services, that individuals are paying. That's the cost of a new wastewater permit. If we would find someone's wastewater system that is failing and they need to upgrade that, then we would have, if we charged them $100 to come check the wastewater system, it's failing, they need a new tank or whatever, then we have to ask them for more money to get that paid. We don't ask them for more money if it does need to be upgraded and whatnot at that point. So.
But we don't reimburse it either.
That's correct, that's correct.
So what would it cost the county? It would cost our county more in appropriations to reduce that monthly fee.
That's correct. And to be honest with you, that $10,000 has been in effect since, I want to say 2003, don't quote me on that, but it was the early 2000s when this coalition came together and all of the counties started kicking in money when the state LEPP money dried up and went away. We haven't charged any more since that amount.
Okay.
I mean, and how much has inflation gone
Okay.
up since then, so.
Thank you, that's good information to know. So how do you want to proceed with this?
I would like to see you, and I guess I'd go out and look at it from on the KDE's website, but I would like to see you try, and if it needs to be done through the board meeting, whatever, try to pull together a coalition of commissioners to come to an agreement on the sanitary codes for the
So
coalition,
the
not for
same
each
for all
county.
counties participating.
Yes, not for each county.
So let's,
Because I can't fathom how I can compare counties with the information that if we're all different.
so let's proceed in that direction. Let's start by getting all 5 counties to agree on a set of codes, and then we'll move from there.
Each individual county has their own set of sanitation codes. I believe, and I don't know from a legal standpoint, I would assume they need to continue with a Jackson County code, a Nemaha County code.
As long as they're the same.
Right,
The
okay.
adoption of it is, once it gets done, the adoption of it is straightforward.
Right.
Is that, just to help, because I'm looking on the website right now, and I have not finding model code here, is it the Environmental Health Handbook?
No. What did you Google or go into KDHE, LEPP?
Yeah, KDHE, it's not LEPP, it's.
Because there's actually a division, the Local Environmental Protection Program, they've got their own part of the KDHE website. So if you just do KDHE, LEPP, there should be a section, I believe, on the right hand side.
Word. Okay, so they have a separate, it's KSL.
Model County Sanitary Code? Is that what it is?
Yes,
Okay, so if you go under KDHE, and it pops up over on the right-hand side, down the last one, Model County Sanitary Code.
yes. That is what they came up with, because there was a lot of counties wanting to change sanitary codes, but they didn't know which direction to go or how to do it. So they came up with this model code. Now, there's a lot of stuff in there that would not apply to our counties, but you can pick and choose, I want this, but I don't want that, so we would take that part of it out.
And that's, like I said, I think that's where we need to get and have it to where all of us are the same.
And so, if you want to put together a template of what that would look like, and then present that to all 5 counties, I mean, to me, there's no reason you can't just email out each individual commissioner and say, I need to take action on this so that, with the cover letter, saying, we'd love to have the same sanitary code in all 5 counties. Would this meet what you guys do? If so, let me know, then they'll adopt it.
Are you thinking that you would, but your committee, could the committee do the work on it to get a real, meaning that's
They can.
all, and then it would go, I mean, basically you would want all things to say to the general question, do you want to have a uniform, sanitary code for all the counties? And they would say yes, and then that's it. And then it goes to form, and you guys work it out, get everything fixed, when the final version comes through.
I think that would be the first thing to do is to talk to each one of the counties and see if we can get them on board with having a uniform sanitary code for the coalition, not individual codes that really, because you're chasing your tail by trying to keep each county straight as far as what their codes are. I mean, I know that now you've probably got it memorized, but it's just, you know, God forbid something happens to you tomorrow, something comes in new, well, what are you gonna do? Well, you know, Axon does this, and Jackson does this, and Brown does this, so, you know, you gotta kind of keep all that separate. Let's get it all, let's get it straight, so that it's easier for us as a county to follow, it's easier for the coalition to follow.
I'm in agreement with that, because it is clunky. You know, it's definitely clunky and not easy to navigate.
Okay.
And I will tell you, Atchison County, the procedure we've been handling for Atchison County, we went to the commissioners, they wanted with changing, you know, updating their codes. We got together a community forum, a community group of people from varying different walks of life to give us input on what they wanted for the sanitary codes. The process of putting that together to present back to the commissioners, at that point, it will go to KDHE for them to go through with their fine-tooth comb. They'll send the changes back county level to either accept or not accept, you know, and then it has to be publicized. Then it goes back to KDHE for them to officially adopt it, back to the commissioners for them to officially adopt it. It's a long process.
Sure.
But we can definitely get to that.
And that's what I say, when you're doing them already, might be the time to do it right now to get everybody on board so we can get going with this thing and get it running.
Right, and where I was going with this is Atchison County requested to have a nuisance part of the code added to their code, a nuisance chapter. That's not unique across the state. There's very few counties across the state with a nuisance chapter of the environmental and sanitation codes. So, you know, that may be unique to Atchison.
That's
So,
just teeth to it, right?
Well, no, it's a different way of enforcing it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because they have a resolution in place right now for nuisances.
Okay.
They want to incorporate that resolution into the environmental and sanitation code.
Nuisance being somebody's
Like
sewer run.
discharging groundwater into the.
No, more of your place is trash. I don't like looking at your place and, you know, they've got standards for, you know,
I
having
think that's a whole.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and it
that's-
is. I'm not gonna lie to
Yeah,
you.
no, I went down this path 2 years ago.
You guys have zoning, so you guys are a little bit better
But
than
we
that.
also tried to do some nuisance type stuff, and, I mean, it gets too subjective. If you drive out on his farm, you don't like the way it looks, I'm not
Right.
gonna be the one in decision that I don't like the way his looks versus the way theirs looks. We're not going, for me, I'm not going down that path,
Yeah.
because that's way too subjective.
I mean, what you have reported to us that you have gotten calls about mice and rats from here and there and going onto the neighbor's property. Well, that's something you really can't do anything about.
Absolutely, that's
You know,
my
I mean,
stance.
that is not a nuisance necessarily, but if I've got,
You get 90% of it all uniform, and you can have, 10% here and 10% there, and you know, that's a small detail that you know in that county, it's not a big deal.
Right.
I mean, it's instead of having 5 different codes, you've got one with 3 or 4 that do
Yeah.
different.
And I would think most of those, if what you have on your property is causing damage on my property, that's gonna be a legal battle.
yeah, not a
Right.
environmental, yeah, I agree.
Kate really does a good job of speaking up when she wants to, but go ahead.
There was one suggestion, because you were talking about getting rid of the resale part of that, because something has sold within a year. Maybe it could be like, if it has been inspected within the last
whatever we do.
Yeah, and I,
Maybe that could be,
yes,
instead of, it was
Yeah,
just
and that's a great
inspected 9
point.
months ago, does it have to be inspected again with this resale?
and that's what I would like to see with the rental portion of it too, you know, because there, didn't you say that there was a deal in there that?
Right, every time a Brenner moves out, it's required to be inspected.
That's part of the code, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll be
That's-
honest with you, I've been doing this I've been with NEKES for 10 years and we've not done a rental inspection, you know.
Okay.
Property resale, I would actually like to see that not go away. Just because so many counties across the state are moving towards that, I wouldn't be going
I'd like to put a
backwards.
timeline under, like Kate said, if it's been inspected, you know, 5 years ago and everything's good, then we're not gonna inspect it again. If it sells, if it's sold here and 2 years it sells again, we're not gonna inspect it there, but 4 years later it sells, then we inspect it there, because that's 6 years between the time of the first sale. I just don't like it.
I'm concerned because I think we skipped over something that was a problem. How do we enforce that? Meaning, you sell your property, you read it before, you comply, and the guy next door just doesn't do it, nobody ever calls him. So what's our hook? I mean, places
So,
would
say
have,
that again, I don't understand
I
your.
mean, what do we deny to say, you can't do this? What do they need to ask the county when they're selling? They file a deed, the person has to take it. Do they have to get a zoning permit if they're not changing the zoning? If the residential house, and they're just changing ownership, they don't need a zoning permit or a certificate of occupancy, right? So what is the action that they need from us when they're selling the property that we can say no? And then kind of come to us on you know, that's how you enforce it. That's how you differentiate between the guy who's following the rules and the guy who isn't. Is you've got a hook on them to say, you know, well, you didn't ask for that. And 2 years ago, so we gotta, what do you?
Right, and I think in my example earlier, buying Todd's property, if we use just a lawyer or a title company, nobody's gonna ask that question.
They know that they're supposed to get them checked now.
Who's they?
The title company,
The title company here at Holt.
White, yeah.
Okay,
Why would you need?
but
But if you go to,
if I go to
Timber.
anywhere
Well,
else,
you go to my office, say, do a title abstract.
right?
And tell me, and I do it private. I can do that.
Right, so I think that's your point, is how do we make sure we're applying this evenly across the board to all sales?
Yeah,
And not just the ones that are, or the ones that are forthcoming.
and back to the grandparents, you know, grandma and grandpa living in the house, then they sell it in 2 years, they're, you know, they've all of a sudden failed the system because it's old, you know, that's not getting found, you know, if we do that type of thing, you know, they're not all being checked.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you size the septic systems off of the number of bedrooms?
New systems, yeah, but these old systems that were just put in, you know, at the beginning without any regulations or whatnot, if they're not failing, we can't say you gotta have laterals to it, or, you know, cause we don't have a drawing, we can tell usually you know, with the lines in the grass how many feet there are, if that's not failing, it may be undersized, and we'll usually state that in the letter, it's undersized for today's standards, you might wanna keep an eye on it for down the road.
Okay. Martha, I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Grandma, grandpa's, grandkids move in, grandma, grandpa have passed away, transition over there, that's another monkey wrench in the whole situation, so it probably passes and you don't even know it.
A lot of those do.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's not a perfect system. I wish we could catch it. Not, I don't mean this in a negative sense. I wish we could, you know, see all property resale of transactions went through, but we don't.
So two things, then, are we interested in trying to get all sales?
I'm just curious, is what is the real point of this code is to protect the buyer?
That, in my eyes, it is, yes.
I agree.
But I think the
So-
county has an interest generally in having homes that are compliant with the law so that we can safely, that we have people moving in here and they know every time they don't have.
How do we protect all buyers?
So, in my opinion, if somebody is going to, it's just a personal, it's not an open market sale, they're going into this house, they know that they have work to do on it, or not, they don't have inspections done, they're kind of, that's on them, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a resale, but most likely it would be a quick claim, possibly a general warranty.
Warranty in the deed doesn't have any basis.
Right, because there's a lot of properties that are sold as is. I know this failing, I know the house is destroyed, but I want it, and I'm willing to give extra dollars, and then I'll fix everything. You know, that type of situation, there's a those that happen. So, do we, as a board, do we want to try to catch all sales to protect all buyers, or are we just interested in ones that go through realtors, or the ones, are we happy with just catching the ones who are honest? That's what I need to know, so we can move ahead and give direction.
Not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily about the honesty part either.
Okay. What is?
It's about, if you're gonna have a not open market sale, it's like a sale, those two parties realize what's going on.
Yeah,
That
they
at
take
any
the risk.
time, they're taking that risk.
Okay.
And ignorance.
Yeah, and then, but that's the question here is that there's a certain point of regulation, that you don't get to take that risk. I mean, right, you can't lie in the sale of the house, you can't say something directly false, because the state says you can't. And you'll be civilly liable, and you could be criminally liable if you do that. So, they've taken that, you know, there's no, the extreme of being buyer beware is not really the rule, because drafted laws that say that's not right. And that's, you have to have a realtor probably to tell you both of those things if you're really in a deep transaction. And I agree that, you know, the setup isn't right now, I don't think, is that it comes in and checks to see about whether it was the septic system checked according to county rules, that the rural water district has been paid in full, right? And then there's a dozen different things they don't check that are not illegal, to not say anything. So that's the balance. You guys want to be on the balance of we're regulating these things that we can and protecting versus buyer beware.
Well, I guess, my question on that would be, and according to you, if you put in your letter, as of today, this was great. Sign it, send it to them, done, right?
Yes.
So, a week later, they buy the house, 2 weeks later, well, guess what? It's running all over, you know, the laterals, everything's screwed up. What do we accomplish? What do we accomplish? We accomplish nothing, right?
So what's the answer to that?
Yeah,
So you're saying-
I
are
don't
you-
know what the answer
Are
to
you
that
saying
is.
take the code completely out, and we just don't require inspection?
I don't know, that's what I'm throwing out here though, because it is almost kind of like buyer beware, because if you're buying it, and you take responsibility anyway, because there are no guarantees from Kansas or the counties that it's good.
Yeah,
Which
but
I totally understand, and I
yeah,
want to
that
take
we're
responsibility
in the
for it.
inspection, that we, that
And
won't over.
And actually, at this point in time, even if it's not brought up to code unless it's FHA, they don't have to fix it. Nobody's gonna come out and charge them or arrest them. If they don't, the sale goes through and stuff gets done or it doesn't get done. There's no teeth behind it. Only on FHA, or if the bank refuses to loan any money, right?
More or less, I mean, yeah, we can pester them, but until we have that legal teeth behind us.
Right. So I would rather clean up some of that. Let's figure out what we want in it, how much, I mean, what do we want behind it, and what's enforceable, and what isn't.
Well, have you read through the sanitary code?
I've not read it, I have just quickly glanced through it, think, oh gosh, there's a lot of stuff that is in here as a possibility to leave in, but and that's been probably a year ago, so I don't know specifics.
Well, and the reason I was wondering, so, you know, are there any teeth in that, I mean, it's violations and penalties, prosecution, prohibited practices, so, you know, maybe we need to take a look at that and see what's actually in that, document.
That's currently in your code, I mean, there's actually a violation, a fine, a code that's, if something is not done, then
How many
they could
times
be
have
levied
you-
a fine, but,
How many times have been followed?
in my 10 years, probably none.
Okay.
But we have reached out to the, to the legal, the county attorney, county counselor of our counties a handful of times. And most of the time they can get it done, but then a couple of times it's not been followed through enough to the point where it got accomplished.
Well, I remember, one case in specifics that Lee did end up sending letters to him, and, it got taken care of, so.
Right.
All right,
All right, yeah.
so can some of this start at your board level?
Well,
Can some of this start at your board level, getting a consensus from all the counties that they want to be uniform first, I think would be the,
I think that would be the thing to do, is start
then
there.
start working on them at that level, and then bring them back to us, once you get a
I think-
template.
I think that would be the thing to do, and I think next board meeting, not
January 9th.
January.
Yeah.
So why don't we put on the agenda in January that we would like to discuss, and I would like to discuss, the possibility of all of us coming together as a coalition and negotiating, start with this model,
Yeah.
Okay.
and negotiate that and see what we can do, and back to commissioners, and if the health nurses and road and bridge doesn't feel comfortable negotiating on that, then we need to, get commissioners together, at least one commissioner out of each county, and start in on it,
Yeah. I agree.
so.
And in the
let's
meantime,
go
I'll,
do that.
I will through and, you know, a little more closer detail and I'll just see what's
Yeah,
going
I'm
on.
gonna get this put out, read it, and see what we can come up with,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. Kate, before we move on from this? Okay. All right, do you have anything for us today? Sure. It's your turn. Barbara, thank you for coming down.
Thank you guys. I'll get back with you.
I'll look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, sounds good.
And maybe we can have part of this conversation at some point, is increasing appropriations to offset some of the, at least for our county.
Because I'll be honest, I mean, if one county does, you know, we'll need to do it for all 5 counties to just keep everybody on the same level. We did discuss that in board meetings last year, about getting in front of you guys saying, we're gonna probably need to start thinking about bumping that
Well,
appropriation up.
not only bumping it up, but bumping it up to reduce the burden to the taxpayer.
Right.
That's the portion I'm, you know, if we could reduce that somehow to make it a more manageable fee,
Right.
I would be interested in hearing what that number would look like.
Yeah, because with wages going up, gas going up, I mean, a number of factors that are contributing to our bottom line shrinking or going below. You know,
Sure.
that's what we're trying to do, is at least stay, you know, at or, you know, barely above.
Let us know what those numbers look like, and we'll have that conversation.
All right, thank you guys, appreciate your.
Thanks, Martha, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you in January.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so building permit application, Mark had recommended putting in, new and existing on the driveway entrances.
Yes. That way that takes out any ambiguity, and that way we're all straight.
Right. So that's what I'm asking, is if that looks good to you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and add it in
Okay.
on the instructions.
Okay.
Portion of that.
And that's little information, and you wanna do it on
It's gonna be on the
2
state
and
address.
3?
Yes.
Okay. State access to the number 2, which is just any driveway entrance.
County. Be
Yes,
on county.
for number 2 and number 3, yep.
Yeah.
I'm in total agreement with that, that way it takes out any ambiguity, and, you know, we can get this straightened out. Do you see anything else in there that you think needs to be,
Yeah,
okay, that's all I need.
yeah, I mean, it seems forever changing, it seems like. so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have that back.
Oh. Issue.
You
All
wanna
that
keep this
is-
one? Cause I put it in, so it's highlighted there.
Thank you.
Hang on. You want one? You guys want one?
I'll share it.
You wanna share it?
Okay.
That's where she want, right there is where she's talking about changing, Dan.
Yeah,
I'll make it.
okay, that's the.
Number 2 and number 3
yeah,
are
yeah.
additional information.
But, still, KDOT trumps everything, and that's correct. Even though they go out and do their inspection, they still trump access off of highway. We do the county, but KDOT is still, okay.
Yeah, it says that, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Okay, I have
Thanks,
a
Kate.
document here that is for the B program. I think you guys approved it or discussed it last week. Did you approve this last week?
Or the, no,
Broadband with,
did we table that, and Keith got that?
Yes, I believe that's.
Did-
This is the letter of support.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you, did you vote to approve? the-
No, we did not vote to approve,
Okay.
it was just general consensus.
Yeah,
or the letter, or letters.
Okay, so it's general consensus that we'll approve this. I've signed it, you guys want to sign it? Yes,
Sure,
sir.
good deal.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, thank you.
Todd,
Take
thank you.
care.
Sure.
Have a great day.
Seems like we tabled another.
That was the, Royal Valley money.
Okay, so this doesn't cover this one. Okay.
Wait till I put my glasses on.
That's okay.
I just can't take it to either, so it's.
We have another, NEK AAA is applying grant.
Yeah. We had our meeting last week.
Okay, and so you're aware,
Yes, basically all we are as conduit.
Right.
So, because they are short on the building project. When they first decided they were gonna build a new project, they got, projections and now they're like $500,000 off.
No,
Because
yes, right.
years after COVID.
Okay.
So,
So they've applied for grant, so.
yeah, and I think they're gonna try to get the,
General consensus, then we'll support that.
Yeah.
Grant and for the health
Yes.
facilities.
and I've always said that, our senior citizen center, Jackson County Senior Citizen Center is the best in North Indiana, the best around, so.
And then you guys are aware that we canvas on the fifth.
Yes.
Yes.
9 o'clock buildings,
Jim.
10 o'clock
Kenny.
campus. Yeah. Yeah. And,
Is that something I didn't hear around for?
No,
I thought Lee did one of those.
I don't think so.
I think he was here because it was during a regular meeting.
Yeah, that was.
And we bored him to death, so.
We, yeah.
Yeah.
Sit and listen.
Well, we know that didn't happen.
Okay. 23.
All right, see you later.
So Brightspeed is considering,
Okay, so have fun.
submitting a broadband grant application.
Safe travels.
To the Federal Needs Initiative for a project in Jackson County.
Cool.
Sounds like similar to what Giant did.
the cops go south to, where the rights, over by Dealey area.
I don't know who, yeah, but they did a grant. I just thought they were just putting in fibers down there.
There's a lot of money coming through. Is it through the federal state or both? The state attended a
It's
conference.
a bead grant.
Yeah. It's just to approve.
They just want a letter of support.
Same
Saying
thing
that we
as,
support
that
their,
their son.
yeah. So the general consensus that we would support Brightspeed
Sure.
in their application. Okay. So whenever we get a letter, we'll sign it. I don't believe so unless you go to the,
It's
This is
just
really-
a letter.
It's gonna be about the same as we heard from Giant.
right. I
I
would
think
agree.
we're good.
Okay, there's a letter. You guys want to sign that, but we'll get a letter for next week and we'll sign it.
We don't have to sign this.
They didn't
Yeah.
send one yet, they're just
Okay.
asking,
All that is information.
get on the agenda.
Yeah. They're actually, what's it, didn't it start out in United, then Sprint? Aren't they part of that? Do you
It
remember
was,
that?
it was Bell too.
Bell?
It was Mall Bell down here first, but
Was it really? Well, it was United out of Junction City. Then they.
it was Mall, then it went to United, and it
Okay.
went to, I don't know what all.
Yeah, they had a couple different, telephone lines here, not at one time, but during, what, 50s and 60s maybe?
Right down there by,
The old school,
yeah,
I remember that
Yeah.
state.
that's where the operators all worked out of.
Yeah, my grandma had, they were big houses, there was a brick house there, on the east side, mother owned that, and as a kid growing up, I remember that, then somehow they all went and leveled all those houses.
What's that? Yeah, I'm gonna email Kevin real quick and just let him know that I'll see if these guys want to read it. Okay. Okay.
got the reply.
Okay.
Share that with you. Just let me know when you're at the point you wanna hear what Tim had to say.
Go ahead.
He sent me back, I read you, did I read you what I wrote to him?
Yeah.
Could you please provide me with an email and phone number for a contact person in IT Pathways? And he said, you can just email this email and tell them who you are from Jackson County and tell them what you need. A trouble ticket will be made and Christy and I will both be able to see it and monitor it through completion. And he sent me the support at IT Pathways. And then it says, in the meantime, I will find the complete email I sent out to all business managers and get it to you, Keith and Dan, for your review and use. So, and I told him, this is what I was getting ready to say, this is not for a trouble ticket. When we switched over to IT Pathways, I understood during negotiations that we were to provide one contact person, one backup person for county contact, and they were to do the same. We were waiting on the information, or we were wanting.
Okay.
So, I'll send that to him and see where we get back.
Okay.
Who's that?
I don't know.
I've got one minutes on the last page. At 11 a.m. when Dick was in, the next to last sentence in that paragraph, planning commission needs to be struck from that right now. We have not presented the planning commission with the draft of the solar rate yet.
You interviewed another individual for the board of zoning?
That was the first week you were on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, tell me,
Only one came in,
where was this guy from?
was older.
Okay.
It
It doesn't matter. I think,
Okay.
but
Seemed to be a very, well-spoken individual who I thought would do a good job on there. He's military.
that's
Anderson, Shawn Henderson, yes.
I don't know.
I don't know him, I've never seen him before.
Guy from Emmett didn't, wasn't interested?
Nope. Nope, that was the only one.
Okay. And so we're full, we have 9 now?
Yes.
Yeah, some folks commented on that, or heard about it, so, yeah, that's good if you're going larger.
Yep.
For that, just keep it going up 7. We had 7. Yeah, they thought it was good. More.
And I know we're gone on the last page of this, asked them to strike and planning commission from the Nick Bowser talk, since we have not presented him to the planning commission as of yet. DOC and planning.
Nick Bowser, previously.
That would be P Farms over here.
Related to
South.
Mark?
No, well, not the Mark you're thinking of.
Okay.
Mark Bowser, who was, it's good. Yeah, but not the one you're thinking of, no.
Okay, so strike.
Strike and planning commission. Yeah, because we have not yet presented
No.
that to them.
I've read them, I've seen it tested them, so.
Yeah, I see nothing other than what I had strike.
Entertain a motion to approve the, November 4th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And I would not vote because I wasn't here to test this time. The rest of the meetings, minutes have been approved up to date.
As far as.
I don't see them on
Yeah.
the website.
The hardware copies or whatever you call them yet, I don't think they have come out. But yes, to my knowledge, I'd say that's correct.
Okay.
And that's, that was from 12/5/22, almost 2 years ago, when we approved the land that was to be used for the raised grant, which a lot of it has not been done yet. Now it has. Remember we talked about that? Right. I looked up at them. Yeah, I looked up it. They received several $1 million. And
You mean the roads that they're in?
right, from the raised grant.
Okay.
Those are the minutes of us approving their request to help with detour, things like that. But there was a question here a while back, whatever happens, they have not spent all their money, it's like, it. So,
Okay.
just for months.
Okay.
Because I went through and looked at all the minutes for a period of time.
Okay, so, Christmas, what do you guys want to do, employee-wise?
Oh, here?
You know, for, typically on an annual basis,
Oh, I see.
with things being tight? Are we gonna do anything?
I don't know, we can, because it's being tight. I mean,
Got hit with the lengthy period of time money's going out for, help me out with the name. Last month. Employee retention, whatever it's called.
Oh,
yeah.
That was pretty good shot, buddy, we're not for.
Longevity.
Yeah,
Longevity
there we go.
Premium.
Yes, that's what we call it. But it is.
No, that was for the reimbursement for the conference. So,
Good question.
do we, discussion,
let's table this week.
Yeah. Also,
the thing to remember is it becomes a time factor. I mean, we're in November, we're gonna do anything, getting turkeys, whatever we've done in the past, would be too short before we can get that stuff.
And I think with today being the 12th, I think we got time.
yeah, we did, chamber bubbles, I think, before.
Yeah,
We've done that.
maybe we don't, because
Like I said, let's think about that and see what,
Yeah. Good idea. I like the table. That's kind of hungry.
last year, didn't we pull out a commission?
we did,
And that's running tight,
it is.
because that's where we need any more for the end of the year, that's where that's gonna happen.
That's
We
great.
know the court system is gonna be stretched
They are.
beyond. So, because there were some sink cases that came through several thousand dollars, as you well know, those things can go on for years.
So let's table that till next week, and think about that.
Okay.
Tim wants to know if we want him on the agenda for next week, so he can come in and give us a report on, any remaining issues and, the cutover from Network Plus Ivy Pathways. Would like to do that,
For sure.
I think I wanna hear that, so
Yeah.
we can kinda get this straightened out and get going. So can you contact him and let him know, yes, we're going on the agenda? I appreciate that.
Let's put him on after, Kurt.
Early after.
Yep.
Me and Christie will be here, right?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Oh, I won't be here, so I'll assume she.
Okay, we got permanent meetings next week too, so.
I've got a heck on that day too. It's my mom and dad's anniversary. I always get mom something on the 8th. Yeah. Your birthday? Oh. Happy birthday in advance, so I probably won't see you until afterwards. What are you doing? At home? Cooking? There you go. There you go. I saw a picture on Facebook about the new building at Baker Creek. It looked like everything's complete, ready to go. Looked nice. Wonder when they're thinking of a grand opening. I guess that's something that's Kurt today, right? Or a ribbon cutting.
Looks very nice.
Yes, it does.
So Brett Wagner,
Yep.
there you go. Leave him in.
Yeah, should do that.
Brett Wagner sent me an email, said he got, Marshall and Miranda sent a letter of support. Were you guys aware of that? They both sent a letter of support for our grant straight to Department of Transportation.
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Booting, yeah. Anyway, so I have a copy of that letter, so they both did that. Should have something in December.
Good.
That'd be nice.
That.
And that was for the 32 million.
Correct.
Okay.
And then Rob Hartwell, there's been a change at,
You gotta drag it out.
well, no, it's personnel at,
Did you get one? Little Judge Campbell brought those in for us.
Yeah, well, there's one lane.
Okay.
thing,
I don't know what it was. Other department.
Probably one of the people.
gentleman by the name of Taylor, works for Marshall's office now. And it's not Bill Bursick anymore. It's, Ron is meeting with Taylor. Bill's on something else, which is not uncommon.
Yeah.
And so he's meeting with Taylor, Thursday. And then he met with, who's from here, Bolton, Dex principal.
Oh, what, tell them.
Tell, last week, I have not heard how that meeting went. This Tell is head of Racing Hands.
Yeah.
Department. So, those
Okay.
are the two legislative updates that I had.
That's good. They're still in process. Are they? They're not even in session now.
No.
When?
No,
December?
back week.
Are they back this week?
Yep.
Okay.
So the email that I got that's talking about all of you receiving an email from, so, is it Forrest? So Forrest? So So we need to set something up in that before, this is something from IT Pathways, are you familiar with?
No.
Oh, for the email?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did that. It's some kind of another
All of,
another path that if you get a suspicious email coming in, they were quarantined in this Soros or whatever it is.
Okay.
So all you gotta do is go on to that link and they will send you a code on,
Well, I actually thought it was a suspicious email, and I just believed it, so I
Yeah.
went back and read that. Little heads up if you were getting that.
well, and there again, I didn't, when I first got it, at the end of last week, first of last week, I just kind of blew it off just like you did, and then there was another one that, came through that said, hey, you haven't done this yet, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that was from the lady wanting to know if we're, I don't know, it's just an extra charge that somebody wants to charge us for, I think. Sounds,
What, the Soros?
no, something else. Maybe they just sent it to me, I don't want it sent, maybe because I'm on the alphabet file there first. I just ignored it.
So what do we have this afternoon? We have Kurt first. Does he have anything to do? He didn't last?
No, we didn't. No. We went and visited him about the building,
Okay, yeah.
when it's gonna open out.
Oh, when it's,
When it's
already
already,
cut.